All right, regular meeting of the mayor and the city council, city of Port Allen, Louisiana, days Wednesday, June the 9th, 2021, at 5:35 p.m. Each person must decide before entering the council chamber which agenda item they wish to comment on. If they're not seated in the council chamber when that agenda item is heard, they will be notified by an officer to enter the council chamber to address that agenda item. Agenda, please silence all electronic devices. Then item 1 call to order. Stand for the pledge. James, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Then item 3, roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Gordon? Here. Mr. Hubble?
Here.
Ms. Lacy? Here. Mr. Riviere? Here. Everyone's present.
Agenda item 4, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 12th, 2021.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilwoman Gordon, second by Councilman Brown. Any objections? Hearing none. Agenda item 5, public comments. Comments from the public are allowed in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute Section 2 through 34 and specifically limited to an agenda item to be considered during the meeting. 3 minutes per person and 15 minutes per topic. Agenda item 6, public hearing to obtain the views regarding the adoption of an ordinance to provide for the revenues and expenditures for all the City of Port Allen budgetary funds for the fiscal year 2021-2022, beginning July 1st, 2021, and ending June 30th, 2022. Anyone from the public wish to be heard on this item?
John Summers, 815 Avenue G. First, I want to say that we are currently operating in a $124,000 deficit at this moment. And this budget is proposing a $1.6 million deficit, which I don't know about you, but I have a checking account. I have a savings account. I don't spend more than I'm taking in, and I also don't take any more loans that I can't afford to pay. The city has defaulted on loans before in 2017 over the matter of $3. Honestly, I'm getting upset to the point that we have a city that cannot run its own finances, can't fix the sewers, can't do anything it's supposed to do, has to be embarrassed by the news in order to get stuff done. And frankly, that is very embarrassing. We've already been on national news once with one of our mayors, and I'm not going to lay the blame on Mayor Lee right here, but Port Allen has been in stagnation. We've known about our sewer issues for several years. We've known about our declining population, but yet we don't have any long-term planning to address the issues. And I want to know how my taxpayer money is being spent. For instance, I learned that $80,000 is going to go for this conference room right here in this council chambers. And I want to know where are the 3 quotes mandated by Louisiana law from 3 different vendors for an amount over $5,000 on how much is that going to cost us. I want vendor reports. I want to see how much the city is paying vendors to do things. On top of that, this budget can't pass anyway because revised statute 391305 Echo. The total proposed expenditure shall not exceed the total estimated funds available for the ensuing fiscal year in regards to revenue. It is unlawful to pass a deficit budget in Louisiana. And on top of that, revised statute 391311. The governing body must adopt a budget amendment if there's a 5% greater shortage in revenue or 5% overages in expenditures, or if there's a 5% or greater variance. So basically, this budget cannot pass tonight in its current state. It needs to be balanced. I urge my council to take a look at the mayor line by line and see how we can start reduce spending. But I don't want to end on a negative. I want to also point out some positive things. Ms. Rose, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the VFW and American Legion for your help in organizing our bit for September 11th. And Ms. Clerice, I'd like to thank you for fixing the sign so that way people will stop stopping at intersection on Avenue G at the light. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? If nobody else, we'll close the public comment. Agenda item 7, consider adoption of the ordinance to provide for the revenues and expenditures for the city of Port Allen budgetary funds for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. For the city of Port Allen funds beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending July 30th, 2022. Introduced on May 12th of 2021. Ordinance number 4 of 2021, read.
An ordinance adopting the fiscal year 2021-2022 budgets for revenues and expenditures of the City of Port Allen General Fund, Low-Income Housing Fund, Municipal Complex Debt Service Fund, Water and Gas Fund, and Sewer Fund beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022, and to provide for related matters.
Minutes was that?
If there's no discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
A motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lacy, second by Councilman Brown. Any objections? Hearing none?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Hubble?
No.
Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
No.
Motion
Motion.
passed.
Thank you. Agenda item 8, public hearing to obtain views regarding the adoption of an ordinance providing for the incurring of debt and insurance of bonds not to exceed $1,850,000.
Hello, Mayor.
It's open for public comments. You want to make it? Okay.
No, I'm just here to answer any questions.
Okay, we're going to bring it up in the introduction.
Okay.
But this is just for the public.
Gotcha.
Anyone from the public wish to be heard? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Agenda item 9, consider introduction of an ordinance providing for the incurring of debt and issuance of not to exceed $1,850,000 of revenue refunding bonds in one or more series of the City of Port Allen, State of Louisiana, prescribing the form, terms, and conditions of said bonds, designating the date, denomination, and place of payment of said bonds, providing for the payment thereof in the principal and interest, authorizing the agreement with the payment agent, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Ordinance number 5 of 2021, Ms. Rose.
An ordinance providing for the incurring of debt and issuance of not to exceed $1,850,000 of revenue funding bonds in one or more series of the City of Port Allen, State of Louisiana, prescribing the form, terms, and conditions of said bonds, designating the date, denomination, and place of payment of said bonds, providing for the payment thereof in principal and interest, authorizing the agreement with the paying agent, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Mayor, just an update. We bid these bonds out a couple of weeks ago, and the low bid was a local guy, Sonny Gascon, with Business First Bank. His bid was 1.5%. The next closest bid, I believe, was 2.2%, I think. Is that right? From Hancock Whitney. So Sonny came in significantly below the second lowest bid. We did lock in that rate with him. We signed a term sheet. We'll get you to sign at a later date, but he agreed to sign it. Based on that rate, the total savings on your debt service, the 1.645 that you have outstanding, is $128,962.50. So right at $130,000 savings in interest. That figure is after all fees and expenses are paid. So that's net net. It's not that we're going to save you 130 and then say, oh, and by the way, our fees were $30,000. It's $130,000 to you. And that's an average of $16,120 per year from now through 2029. And another way to look at that is that after all the fees and expenses were paid, you just wiped away 7% of your debt. So it was a good day for Port Allen, and my hat's off to Mr. Gascon at First Business Bank. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I move.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Riviere, second by Councilman Brown. Any objections? Hearing none?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes. Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 10, public hearing to obtain views regarding the adoption of a budget amendment ordinance in the sewer fund to purchase a new inspection camera equipment that includes a digital camera reel and an audio-video recording monitor in the amount of $10,590. Anyone from the public wish to be heard on this item? No one wish to be heard, close the public hearing. Okay, agenda item 11, consider introduction of a budget amendment ordinance in the sewer fund to purchase the new inspection camera equipment that includes a digital camera reel and an audio-video recording monitor in the amount of $10,590.
An ordinance amending the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget in the sewer fund to purchase new inspection camera equipment that includes digital camera reel and an audio-video recording monitor in the amount of $10,590.
Mr. Joe?
Good evening. This item was presented last week in committee, and prior to that last month, we finally identified a vendor with a camera system that is available. That would be Covington Sales and Service. The bid is $10,590. That includes a 400-foot camera reel and the monitor that is able to record and document date, time, location of the inspection services. So our current system is not functioning and cannot be repaired. So until then, we have no way to inspect any sewer lines to diagnose whatever problems are occurring.
I would say this would be one of the most valuable pieces of equipment any of our maintenance crews could have. So we've seen it firsthand in the last couple of months. I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Got a motion by Councilman Riviere, second by Councilwoman Gordon. Any objections? Hearing none?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes. Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, consider introduction of a budget amendment recognizing additional revenue in the general fund fiscal year 2020-2021. Ms. McCartney?
What I'm asking to do is recognize revenue that's we've already received in reference to sales taxes that were over the budgeted amount that we've already received. If the Local Government Budget Act requires a budget adjustment anytime you are over your budget by 5%. We are currently over by 5% in a good way. Over in revenue is always better than over in expenses. And so what this does is it doesn't allocate the money to go in any particular place. It just recognizes that it exists so that I don't get tagged in an audit finding, which is the purpose of acknowledging that this money exists. And the amount that we're going to ask that we recognize is $500,000 over the budgeted amount for last year. We've actually received more than that, but I'm down in other areas, is why I don't want to recognize all of it. So the amount in the general fund would be $500,000 in the sales tax revenue line item. And that's what we're proposing this amendment to the budget to be. It's just introduction tonight. And then we would adopt it for the current budget, not the one you just adopted. You just adopted for 21-22. This is to deal with the one we're about to get audited on. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
And to be clear, we're basically almost 800,000 in excess sales tax this.
The last estimate that I got was, I think is like 790 something thousand. I don't remember the exact amount.
$797,465.
Right. And because we're down, though, rather than recognize all of that, and then I'm maybe down in other areas like franchise fees or occupational licenses or other licenses and other revenue, is why I don't want to acknowledge the full amount. Give me a little bit of cushion there to maybe be down in the other areas, which we may be, but up in the area that we are to some degree. That's why I'm not proposing the full amount of that we're currently over right now.
Okay. And then we have another month to go. Am I correct? In June.
Yes.
So we're not in any violations,
No.
as Mr. Summers kind of summed up, or that has nothing to do?
I can't respond. I don't know the answer to that question until the expenses are all in. In reference to expenses, some of the information that he provided or asked questions about, I can't disagree with. I'm just talking about revenue. Because right now, we still have the rest of this month and then bills to come in for June that we pay in July and August that then get put back in this current budget. So I can't say today what the current budget is going to look like at the end of that time.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Riviere, second by Councilman Brown. Any objections? Hearing none.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes. Mr. Hubble? Yes. Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 13, consider introduction of a budget amendment authorizing additional revenue in the low-income housing fund for the fiscal year 2020-2021. Ms. McCain?
This is the same issue that we got tagged in an audit last year, where this federal money that comes in for low-income housing, the money comes in and it goes out under their direction. And we did that last year, but we actually received and paid out a larger number than I had budgeted by more than 5%. And because of that, even though it was a positive thing, we still got written up for it, and this is to avoid that. We actually received additional funding this year for COVID relief and some emergency funding in the low-income housing fund, and we were required to spend some of that as well, too. So in addition to acknowledging revenue, what the budget amendment's actually going to look like is that we would increase the amount of revenue by $50,000 and increase the expenses for housing expenses by $30,000, and that should keep me under that 5% window that I have.
To increase it by what? What you said?
Increase revenue
50?
acknowledgement by $50,000 and expenses in that same fund by $30,000. That has also already been spent for the June payments that we made for because they get paid on the 1st of every month. June has already come in, so they've already been paid. So anything else that I get in will be for next fiscal year. This is to just try to avoid getting stung on something minor like that.
So we're looking pretty good in that area too.
Well, that really is a pass-through. That amount is, we don't make a lot, we're not there to make money. We're there to just be the conduit from the federal government that pays us to pay the landlords. And so the money just flows through us.
Okay.
We get a little bit of money to cover our expenses for postage, because we send like 110 checks a month, postage and envelopes and checks and the staff time and preparing that. We get a little bit of money back from them, but it's nothing really to speak of. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I'll second.
Got a motion by Councilwoman Lacy, second by Councilman Brown. Any objections? None, hearing.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Hubble? Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey.
Agenda item 14. Consideration and action to adopt and authorize the mayor to sign a written resolution for the city of Port Allen to abandon the dead-end portion of Roosevelt Street, beginning at Roosevelt Street intersection with Magnolia Street south to the end of the right-of-way, subject to the city reserving a utility servitude. Is Mr. Clayton here?
He's not here. I think he got caught up in, is it here?
Sure. As was presented, I guess, in the committee meetings month before last, Mr. Clayton is now the owner of an entire block fronting between, I guess, fronting Roosevelt Street. I don't know the exact name of the block. In any event, he is now the sole owner of an entire block. There is essentially a dead-end road that's in between that block and the levee. The road is not, it's connected at Magnolia Street, but it doesn't connect to any other street. So Mr. Clayton has made a request that the city abandon the public roadway in that area, essentially the dead-end roadway. And I know he had presented information to the council during his presentation last month. So this is essentially to further that request.
Would we, I mean, would it be any, like, royalties or anything that we would, like the adjacent levee property, do we stand to lose any mineral, just throwing that out there?
I'm not aware of anything that the city would stand to lose. The city does not have any claim to the levee or the riverbank in front of that property. It's listed on the assessor's website as unknown. The city doesn't have a claim to it, so nothing that the city can do with that roadway would affect who has or doesn't have that levee. So it's, we can't, by giving up the roadway, we can't deprive any property owner of rights they may or may not have. So I don't see how we stand to lose anything. I've surveyed some of my colleagues as well, and we're not aware of anything that the city would stand to lose in terms of royalties or rents or anything.
And also, Mr. Clayton was here, and he did state that he will still allow people, the units and stuff to go there on the levee to do whatever practice or whatever they want to do. So he was not going to stop the kids from going up on the levee. So that was a good thing also, even though everything would be enclosed in, but he still allowed the community to go up on the levee.
But understand on that, when you abandon a roadway, that it's only, that property owner only receives up to the center line. It doesn't go all the way on the street, all the way over. Because whatever is unknown, as listed on the assessor's website, actually owns half of Roosevelt, and he would have the other half. So it's down the center, it's not the whole street.
That's correct. We found a statute, Louisiana Revised Statute 48:701, and it concerns the abandonment of roads. And if essentially you would consider a normal situation where a road is running down property, you have various property owners that live on each side of the road. And what the law states that if the public body ever decides to abandon that road, it doesn't need the road as a public road for whatever reason. Essentially, each property owner on each side then owns up becomes the owner of the road bed up into the center line of the road. And that's how the ownership would go. So abandoning the road has nothing to do with who owns this side or who owns that side. Whoever owns this side, whoever owns that side, if you abandon that road in the middle, those property owners take it up to the center line of the road, if that makes sense.
So the unknown, so we will abandon Roosevelt Street to the middle of the road, from the middle of the road onto the levee, that remains unknown, correct?
That the city still would have to be responsible for cutting grass or whatever the case may be. Nothing changed besides.
Nothing's changed. If the council votes to abandon the road, it's essentially the council is no longer maintaining a road there. So you don't asphalt it anymore. You don't have to make repairs to the road. We would, of course, we do have some utilities that run in that area, and that's something that still has to be reduced to writing and negotiated. But we would require a utility servitude just to make sure that the city can maintain its lines, just to keep those lines in service and flowing. And as Mr. Clayton said last month, he has no problem with that.
So being that there's an unknown on this side, Mr. Clayton on this side, so, but the whole road would be abandoned, like the whole.
It would not, right, it would
just
no
up to
longer be
the
a public road.
okay.
The road would essentially curve at Magnolia and turn into Roosevelt, and you couldn't turn right anymore onto Roosevelt from Magnolia.
Wait, is it needed for us to close the road?
Close the road? My understanding is that, no, we don't have to close it, we're just not gonna be maintaining it anymore. So essentially, it becomes the property owner of the neighboring property owner. So if they wanna close it, they can, if they wanna leave it, they can. It's essentially their property then.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Sean, before we do that, just one quick question for Evan. Isn't there some like the unknown part, I keep coming back to that, isn't there some litigation currently ongoing as to try to figure out who the unknown?
I'm not aware of any litigation in this area. I wanna say maybe years ago, there was litigation or threatened litigation on tracks further down.
Okay.
More on the, I guess it'd be the north side. And there has been litigation in terms of the levies in Bruley.
Right.
Which was decided by the Supreme Court the last few weeks. But that really, the issues in that lawsuit really had nothing to do with, road issue here. Essentially, it was the property owners who owned the levies in Bruley were contesting the right to put up bicycle tracks on top of levee, walking paths and such.
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, second.
All right, I got a motion by Councilwoman Gordon, second by Councilman Brown. Any objections?
Are we gonna have public comments on this?
Did you sign up for it? Nope. You didn't sign up for it?
14?
Sign up
No.
for everything.
No, you didn't put a number, so you didn't.
That's why I didn't, that's it.
Okay, you didn't sign up for it, sir.
Okay. But I believe we shouldn't be giving something away when he could lease it from us, make some money.
Mr. Summers, come on up. And is there anything else you want to say that you want to sign up for while you up there?
Yeah, I got plenty of agenda items.
Okay, give me the numbers.
All right. Agenda item number 19. That's what I got left for you.
14 and 19? Okay.
Yep.
For now, you have to put your numbers down. when
I
you wanna sign
apologize.
up. Okay, sir.
Now, why are we giving something away for free when we could charge for access to it? Once a year, city can make a profit out of it, use it for something. I mean, it just makes perfect sense in a business sort of way. And that's my argument right here. Why are we giving something away for free when we can charge for it and continually profit from it? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I got a motion. Anybody else?
If y'all y'all want me to answer it. So, number one, you can't, it's a public road right now. You can't charge to use a public road. And then the law says what happens if you abandon it. It's not a choice. You don't, if you abandon the roadway, the owners take ownership up to the center line of the road. So there's really no discretion there on what happens when you abandon it.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I second.
I got a motion by Councilman Gordon, second by Councilman Brown. Any objections? Hear none?
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you.
And we will ultimately draft a written resolution to effectuate it, which the mayor will have to sign. And again, in that document, the city will preserve a utility servitude to protect one of the, basically the rights that would not be abandoned with the roadway.
Agenda item 15, discuss emergency repairs at the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Tony Erickson?
Thank you, Mayor. Y'all, I have a little handout, and I apologize not having it earlier, but I got some of the numbers today. Y'all, this is, of course, a follow-up on the emergency we had at the wastewater treatment plant, basically in last month. We, obviously, the effluent pump station, for lack of a better word, died, and we had to put some kind of temporary pumping in because that's all the flow from the whole city goes through that pumping station. It's big, so it required quite a bit of piping, a hot tap, just a huge amount of labor and construction. If anybody wants to see it, it's quite impressive. Unfortunately, with this impressiveness is a fairly substantial cost. The cost to do that whole setup, including the rental through the end of the month, is $99,506.96. So that basically gets us to June 17th, because May 17th was when the bypass pump started running. As parallel with that, we ordered a new 10-inch pump, and we were able, this is the one that was actually available in the U.S. It arrived, its cost was $13,213. And I just today received the rest of the quotes for the installation of this pump, which is the low quote was $22,000. And not only was that one the low quote, it also was quicker. And the reason that's important is once we get past the 17th, then the rental, starts again, and you start paying a daily rate, which is somewhere in a neighborhood probably $1,500 to $2,000, depending on how long it goes. It gets cheaper, obviously, as it goes longer. So I guess the two first dots are really essentially, I'm going to say spent, but yes, they're essentially spent. My thought after that, y'all, is if we have one really good pump, brand new pump running, then I think we're safe to go ahead and release the bypass pump. And so the hope is within 10 days we'll be able to release the bypass pump, assuming we don't run into some electrical crisis or whatnot. And when we release the bypass pump, there is a cost to dismantle it, if you will, roughly around $2,000. Then my recommendation is, okay, then we have one pump working out of the three. We should at least have two pumps working. And so I recommend, and hopefully y'all will approve all this tonight, I recommend that y'all authorize, ordering that pump, because as soon as that pump arrives, then you're going to have the capacity that the thing was originally designed for. Then you'll have one last pump slot, if you will, and I'd like to take a little bit of time to see if we could maybe get a different style pump that might be a little more, flood resistant if we have a problem in that particular station. Any questions on any of this, y'all? It's, obviously an unfortunate thing, but we're pressing along, and quite frankly, the working of the effluent pump station was something that, is necessary either way. Any questions?
And this still go along with the current rehabilitation plan you had in place?
Yeah, I mean, it happened, we just got lucky, and it happened to be one of the things I said you had to do. So a good portion of it obviously is, money you're gonna use, even going forward if you all should go to the plant, grown, however you say it. So it's money well spent on the future stuff, I'll just tell you.
Well, my main concern, Tony, is the cost of these other pumps that's not identical to the ones we already have, and how that would play into effect in reference to the check valve that got attached to it. Is it going to be the same?
And that's going to be part of the stuff I would look at, Mayor. It may not make sense. I just want to have the opportunity to look at it. That's all. And quite frankly, if we find out it either takes longer or it costs more, then it's not going to fly. And if for some reason it can't go into the piping, then that's not going to fly either. The advantage of the kind I'm considering is they have a higher elevation for the motor itself. So if there's a flooding problem, the motor at least doesn't get fried. But there's I just say like to look at them. Y'all can tell me to order the third one tonight too. I just thought it was worth exploring. Any questions, y'all?
Look, in the last meeting, I think we made reference to Mr. Bads and his crew, but I think we missed the sewer treatment crew. And I definitely want to thank them for the hard work that they did on, with this project here, this emergent project.
Yeah. And
the countless hours that they spent. So I just want to give reference to them and just tell them how much we appreciate them as well.
And I'm glad you said that, because I totally agree. Myself and more than a few of them were running around trying to turn stuff on and off to make sure we didn't have anything overflow or whatever. And yeah, they stayed 24 hours a day when it's normally a split shift. Thank y'all.
Okay.
All right, agenda item 16.
I think I signed up for agenda item 15 for public comment.
All right.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. I think most of y'all know me. My name's Anthony Summers. I'm a homeowner and citizen in Port Allen. And my comments tonight are going to be my concerns as a citizen and will not reflect in any way my employer. My first concern was, is there any kind of emergency plan or contingency contracts in place for the sewer plant going down? Because it sounded like, listening to the committee report, that we got lucky, that we were able to find the equipment and the fuel and everything to get the plant back up and running when it went down. It sounded like that, especially during a rain event like that, we don't need to have sewer problems, and that's going to be our biggest time to have sewer problems. So the best time to make a plan is before you need it. And on a nice pretty day like today, make your plans so that when it starts raining or starts flooding or whatever, we can deal with them. My next question is, I hear y'all talk about the sewer rehabilitation plan. Is there a timeline on that? And is the sewer treatment plan rehabilitation plan B if the grown thing doesn't go through? Because I know they pulled their permits. It sounds like it's coming, but until I see it, I won't believe it. Because there's been so many things in this parish that we've had come in that say we're going to build and they don't. Or like the movie studio. The movie studio people came in and made a big hoorah and they never built. And then everybody got all happy because we were going to have income to the parish, and it never happened. And if the grown thing does not happen, as a citizen, I'd be willing to pay $5, $10, whatever it costs on my sewer bill every month to make something happen, because this is a can that's been kicked down the curb so many times.
through the administrations, the prior administrations and the prior councils, that it's become critical now that we have a sewer treatment plant that operates, because one morning when everybody in the city of Port Allen gets up to go use the bathroom, take a shower, and they can't do that, or sewer starts backing up in their house, they're gonna have a lot of unhappy citizens, and it's coming to this chamber. So that's my concerns about the plant, and I ask that y'all listen to what I've suggested and come up with some real plans for those emergencies, and a real plan to move us forward to make sure that one day everybody in Port Allen is not going to be in a bind. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And to be clear on that, we are not counting on Grown to save us from the situation we're in. We're still pursuing building a new plant, and that is the objection. And as far as the timeline, there is no timeline as far as what Mr. Eric just stated. We're trying to repair the sewer treatment plant as quickly as possible. And we're taking whatever precautions, whatever needs to be taken in order to restore, to maintain the services that the citizens need. And other than that, unless anybody else got anything else? All right. We'll go to agenda item 16. Consider acceptance of the West Baton Rouge Journal's bid to be the official journal of the city of Port Allen for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending July 30th, 2022. Mr. Jennings? Mr. Jennings?
I'm here by accident.
Oh, you're here by accident? Okay. Well, Mr. Jennings, I don't know if it's the owner of the West Side Journal.
I know it's the same as last year.
Okay. So if anybody don't have any, entertain a motion?
Second.
Got a motion by Councilwoman Gordon, second by Councilman Hubble. Any objections?
What's the date?
The fiscal year, July the 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
We have it in your, I think it's number 7. I'm not sure. Maybe not.
16.
Number 16. Go to 16 in the letter.
Thank you. I just didn't see it.
All right, we'll,
I'm
I know we got a motion already by Ms. Gordon, second by Mr. Hubble. Okay,
motion
we need to carry.
got a motion by Ms. Gordon, second by Councilman Hubble. Any objections? Hearing none?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes. Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 17, consider a resolution allowing bars within the city of Port Allen corporate city limits to remain open until midnight on the night of Sunday, July 4th, 2021. Mr. Riviere.
I think it's a movie.
Yeah, we had discussed it. I thought I texted, well,
Right.
made everybody aware that this agenda item was not needed. It already exists in our ordinance that, and I can read it. Bars must stop, shall be closed at 10 p.m. on Sundays and may not reopen until 6 a.m. on Monday, provided that the 10 p.m. Sunday closing time shall not apply to Super Bowl Sundays, or Sunday which is followed by either Memorial Day, Labor Day, the 4th of July, or New Year's Day, or if the Sunday is the 4th of July. So It's, I appreciate the cooperation I've gotten from the council, but as it turns out, it's already in our ordinance, so. We're going, thank you, Mayor.
Man, I was thinking about discussing, maybe the bar staying open on Sundays, like extending their hours till 12 o'clock anyway. It's only 2 of them. I mean, we did hear that they took a hit during the pandemic, so maybe that'd have been some sales in and, like it's just 2 bars. And I know at one time, the reason why they closed them early because of the crowd that would come from Baton Rouge, where Baton Rouge staying open at 2 o'clock now on Sundays. So we don't have to worry about that crowd coming over. So maybe in the near future, maybe consider letting our 2 bars that we have stay open till midnight on Sundays instead of 10 o'clock. I think they need it.
All right, well, that's gonna have to be a discussion with the chief too.
Yeah.
Or we can bring it back up another day.
We can put it on the next month's agenda.
We have to amend the ordinance for that, but that's
Okay.
Okay, so we gonna pass
Wrong
on
wasn't
this.
built overnight.
so that agenda item is
All right, agenda item 18. Consider authorizing Mayor Lee to reimburse Garrett Joseph the sum of $2,256 for various repair expenses incurred by Mr. Joseph for the sewer line located at 951 Avenue C, Port Allen, that was found to have been ruptured by a city gas line board. Mr. Joseph?
You all have documentation submitted by Mr. Joseph, no relation for the record. And this bore actually took place several years ago, long before this administration. Per discussion with Mr. Aaron Landry, our gas supervisor, it was in the 10 to 12 year neighborhood when the city ran a new gas line along that side of Avenue C. And Mr. Joseph presented documentation that he had sewer problems toward the middle of last year. And he called numerous plumbers. We went out several times. The problem could not be resolved, so we dug it up to see exactly what was going on. You have photos that shows the gas line running smack through the middle of the sewer connection, the tie-in. So it was repaired. And now I think that gas line runs underneath his sewer line, but he has submitted receipts of $2,256 for reimbursement for the various plumbing repairs and equipment rentals incurred to address that problem until it was fixed. Any questions?
Well, I just have a comment. I mean, I'm prepared to vote for this. I think it's the right thing to do. There was no fault of Mr. Joseph that this happened. And I guess, it's not exactly comparing apples to apples, but a few months ago, we had something similar where 2 property owners were not responsible for something that the city had done. This was before Ms. Gordon and Ms. Lacy were on the council.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an incident where 2 property owners were not responsible for something the city had done years and years ago that they were required to pay for. And I just, I would have voted for us to pay for theirs, just like I'm prepared to vote for Mr. Joseph in this case. I just think if the city's at fault for whatever reason, it's the right thing to do. So, just wanted to
Well, you have that right, and I remember the issue that you addressed. And just for clarification purposes, that issue was caused by a private property owner. And despite that, the actual cost incurred to repair that problem was significantly reduced, and those property owners did not pay the full cost of the repair. So I understand the comparison, but just so you know that this we know for a fact was caused by the city. We hired the company to do the boring. Now, that happened, like I say, many moons ago, but the situations are somewhat different, but that was a significant discount that was applied to those balances. So that, I mean, you know, all in all, I think that bill was over $13,000, and we collected in the neighborhood of $4,600, I believe, maybe $4,700. So that
So the
was
city
some consideration.
Paid up the other portion of it?
Absolutely, that was
Wow.
the decision of the council at the time.
Okay.
I'm with Hootie on that, and Mr. Joseph deserves payment beyond a shadow of a doubt. My question is, do we have a liability insurance on that department?
It's possible. The problem we would have is the timeline. Mr. Joseph's claim starts from discovery on his behalf. Ours is a bit different, and it was a contractor working on behalf of the city. So we have, you know, decided to explore all available remedies to recover the funds. But as of yet, all we've really done is repair the line. We haven't really expended any funds yet. So we did the repair with city staff. So at this time, we're going to instruct our attorney to explore whether or not the contract with the vendor who provided those services provides for reimbursement in the event discoveries like this come about at this point after the repair was done.
And this discovery was discovered recent.
That repair was done in August. We attempted to negotiate a little bit with Mr. Joseph, so.
And that's my next thing. Do we have any statutes, like how long do we hold, you know, just
How long, wait, be
like in the statutes too, that like if this happened years ago, like how many people could come back and say, oh, something happened years ago, like we won't be faced with this all.
Well, I'm gonna defer to Mr. Alvarez on the legal question,
Okay,
because it's gonna be case specific for the most part. But in this instance, he presented his claim within a close proximity to discovering it. So we presented it to the council for consideration. I think at this point we're gonna have to go on a case by case basis.
Generally, it would be 1 year, but there's a legal doctrine where you're not aware of the problem, and you don't discover it until sometime later. A reasonable person would not discover the problem until sometime later. Your 1 year period doesn't begin to run until you discover the problem. So if he discovered his problem, if we found out recently that it was our line that got run through there, the other line, then he would be within the 1 year period, but he still have legal rights.
And I'm just posing these questions because I know these is questions of interest. You know, so. And it's important.
Well, that's a valid question, and just so you know that any debtor can agree to pay any debt at any time. That's an issue between the parties. Now, what the question becomes whether they can legally pursue that debt in the court of law. Those two things don't necessarily have to be in agreement. So it would be your call to decide how far back you're willing to go. And then you decide if you want to pay it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that person can come back and bring it to court and win. But of course, this is court opinion, so you might consider that as well.
All right, I got one comment. Sign up, Douglas Smith. Still want to speak?
I just start off by saying thank you, Lance. You actually addressed the majority of my concerns. Back to what Gary said, outside of this specific situation that occurred 12 years ago, I'd just like to know what type of liability insurance the city has to cover the negligent actions of the water and gas department. And in following John's lead, I'd also just throw a little positive out there. I also agree with Lance's interpretation of the three-way sewage split and whose responsibility it ultimately was to pay for that, despite the city's generosity, but I'm sure the constituents appreciate bearing that bill on behalf of those private citizens who inherited that from their successors in title. Thank you.
All right, I move.
A second.
Got a motion by Councilman Brown, second by Councilwoman Lacy. Any objections? Hear none?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Gordon? Yes. Mr. Hubble?
Yes.
Ms. Lacy?
Yes.
Mr. Riviere?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 19, hear from Public Services concerning complaints of missed trash service each week. Steve Smith or Carla? Okay, we got Steve Smith, Sharon Mann, and Carla
Thank you.
Swag.
Good afternoon. First, thank y'all for having us. You know, we had kind of talked at the beginning of the week on some of the challenges, but we were encouraged to come in and talk to everybody to talk about from 2020 to 21. So during COVID, obviously, we saw a huge spike because everybody was at home and everybody started, you know, cleaning out closets and doing all those kind of things. So just to kind of put it into perspective, in 2020, in comparison to prior years, we saw a 38% increase in garbage and trash collection, okay? So this year, we were really hoping to see that kind of start going down, especially when things started opening back up. And then when we looked at just May, year over year, we're still at a 25%, and it's still holding strong. So part of that reason is, and it's not just here, it's pretty much everywhere. What we're seeing is we thought it was an anomaly that maybe, you know, that it would kind of start tapering down to be normal again. And we're just not seeing it there. And again, we can produce all of these weight tickets for y'all to see that it, you know, just came from the city of Port Allen. But what we saw was in March with the winter storm and then the storms that came through, it just was a domino effect. So, you know, we've tried to throw some more assets at it to, you know, y'all are historically, which our challenges are mainly not necessarily as much as garbage and recycling, but on the outer cart and the woody waste. And you have once a week pickup on each of those. So we've tried to throw some more assets at it, like coming out on Saturdays or coming out yesterday and trying to get some more things picked up. We're going to continue to work at doing that to try to make sure we satisfy the needs of the city of Port Allen. You know, we met with the mayor last year to talk about COVID and, you know, where it was all declared a natural disaster. But at that point, we feel like that we have a great partnership with the city of Port Allen. There was no need. It was just for us to, everybody kind of be patient to let us see what that looked like. And then with these storms, we also had the same conversation that, you know, there's no need for us to do anything different. I think we can get where we need to get to. We just really, I mean, I've been doing this for 34 years and I've never seen this type of increase in volume in my entire career. So we are as concerned as y'all are and hope that people get back to work soon. But unfortunately, I think that this might be our new normal. So we're going to have to kind of accommodate and move some things around as a result of that. So again, we ask that you be patient, understanding that we're throwing extra assets at it. We understand that there's shouldn't be, I mean, that we could actually put in our force majeure just because of what's going on, but we don't think that's the right thing to do. We think that we really need to have conversations with y'all and identify certain areas and help educate the citizens. I think that's one of the biggest things that, you know, people still don't know when's their out of court day, if it's Wednesday or if it's Saturday. When's their boom truck day, is it Wednesday or it's Saturday? Y'all had asked us to go to one service day to put on both to make it easier. And I told y'all then and I promised that we would do that. And we are definitely going to do that. We think that in the next couple of months, we're going to be able to get that done. This year, we kind of got all this all just came upon us, especially after the winter storm. And we're either going to pick the Wednesday or the Saturday. And if anybody has any preference, like I talked about the last time, on which day that would be, we're good for any comments that you have. But I think it would help the citizens understand. They see the rear load pass, and they don't understand why that truck's not picking up the pile. but it's actually for the boom truck, and then they gotta wait 3 or 4 more days, and then the boom truck comes by. So it is confusing, and I do think one service day is gonna be helpful. The good news is, we have seen an increase in recycle volume. Lots of people ordering from Amazon, so there's a lot of cardboard coming through. So that's a good thing. And, but, you know, that volume in recycling, we've actually seen an uptick in people calling and asking for recycling carts. And we feel that that is also as a result of people staying at home or ordering food from home or whatever the case may be. So again, we don't feel that it necessary to come in and try to, I know that some parishes have declared a natural disaster during this time with all the storms and the winter storm and everything else. I think with the city of Port Allen, we can actually work through this process and this problem. I think it's just gonna take a little bit of time, and if we keep throwing more assets at it, I think it's gonna be doable for us to do. Okay, Carla?
No, that's right.
Oh, I'll stay up. Any questions?
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on what we talked about, I think it's important to make sure we get that correspondence out to the
Yeah.
people,
Apologize.
to the citizens, so they can know what and what not to put out, the do's and the don'ts, so they won't be expecting certain items or things to be picked up that's not gonna be picked up at all. So I think we're moving in a good direction with educate, communicate, and eliminate.
You're right, and I thank you for reminding me. I think that a lot of people don't understand what, you know, the difference between contractor debris, you know, whole trees, those things, because we've had some concerns with that. And so we have committed that we're gonna come up with something for y'all to post on your Facebook page, maybe insert some flyers in the user bill to help educate people, because some people don't even know if, like a pizza box, everybody thinks you can recycle a pizza box, but you really can't, because the grease in the box is not recyclable. But there's a lot of people that don't understand the recycling piece too. So we're committed to doing that, and if we need to do it twice a year, it's not a problem. And I think that is really, will help answer a lot of questions on that side.
When you said you had an increase in tonnage in the pickups, I always said at the end of the pandemic, there's gonna be a lot of people with beautiful yards because they're at home. But and selling furniture and appliances, I have seen a drastic uptick in especially appliances, and you say, why is that? And because everybody's a lot of people stayed at home longer. They're washing more clothes, they're drying more clothes. And now you have the situation, you got the demand, but you don't have the supply.
Correct.
And it's a nightmare.
One of my, and I've heard, and I know friends that they've sold more pools in 2020 than they ever have.
Yeah.
And it's because people are at home. Everybody, you know, they go from project to project, and almost everything you do generates trash. So, you know, at first we didn't really, we noticed it, and we were kind of like, wow, but to, you know, like I said, just in the month of May, to still stay strong at a 25% increase, I mean, that's telling me that we're at our new normal, or we're close to our new normal, and maybe come down a little bit, but this is what we're gonna see going forward. And it's not something any of us anticipated.
No.
None. Now, maybe when the kids get back in school, but they still have the option to stay home, right, and do at-home learning. So I really don't know what that's gonna look like yet.
A lot of people got comfortable staying home.
I agree. And some companies have gotten comfortable with their employees staying there. So, and listen, we're good either way. We've just got to adjust to that. When it got to 38%, we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So for it to come down to the 25 is better, but it's still higher than what is actually contracted to pick up. You know, it's going to take more than one rear loader and one boom truck to pick up that out of cart. It is. It's just not going to be enough.
And I had asked Carla earlier if y'all were fully staffed on drivers, because I know trucking lines and deliveries we get is horrendous. But
you know,
she said you're fully staffed.
Yeah, and I actually am overhired. I've got 12 drivers that I've overhired so that we can try to give people a 4-day work week to make it a little better for them if that's what they want. But so you would think that would affect us. So surprisingly, it's not. But where we are being affected is parts for trucks. And, that it normally, or even containers, like some of you that have commercial businesses, if I need to go order steel for a commercial container, I usually can get it within a 3 to 4 week turnaround, and now it's 12 to 16 weeks. And just because of the shortage. So I think it affects everybody, for any business and even people at home. You're feeling it at the pump, you're feeling it in a lot of places. So for us, it's not that we came here or want to talk to the city about increasing, it's about just help us, right? Understand that, this is outside of the norm of what we normally would do. When I compare 2017, 18, and 19, very flat, not a lot, there is really no fluctuation. The city of Port Allen is very standard with its volumes, and then the minute COVID hit, and now in 21, just not seeing that get to that plateau. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that it does. Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Mayor Lee, I didn't list 19, but may I just ask a question with the council? You and I have talked, so you know
Yes,
how I
ma'am.
feel about the trash pickup,
Yes, ma'am. Come forward.
okay?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. I have talked with Mr. Joseph, I've talked with Mayor Lee about the pickup. I've also talked to him about the issue with the cans. I don't know how many of y'all ever experienced, and I think in the last 2 years.
Go ahead and state your name, because I don't think.
Oh, Bootsy Crochet, I live on Georgia. Anyway, I have called y'all about the trash pickup. I have seen a truck go down my street, where's legal, that picked up on one side, but not the other side. Now that's frustrating. If you're gonna go down the street, whatever. I have called y'all. I have been told on occasion, call Republic. And my comment was, I don't pay Republic, I pay the city. And I guess I'd like to ask the council, since you represent a certain area, do you ever ride through and just see a lot of the trash that is not being picked up? I rode around this afternoon and it amazes me, the trash, and it's been there a long time because it's brown. And like I said, if I have a problem, I'm going to call you, I'm going to call Lance, I'll call Gary Hubble, he's my councilman. And I've also commented to the mayor, luckily the city brought me a new can. I bet in the last year and a half, I've had 3 cans. And I don't know if y'all ever notice your drivers or watch your drivers. They'll drop a can from up here. And there goes your lid. One day I walked out to pick up my can, no lid. The lid's in the can. And I even put the little tags back in myself and hammered them in. But, that's things that, why do we as paying customers have to constantly call y'all, which I do because I'm not calling them. And I mentioned to you many times, when y'all negotiate and talk contracts, and I know we have a little increase every year, please mention to them this is happening, because they're not following that truck to see what's going on. And I guarantee you, I feel like I do a lot for myself. I can pick up a can. I've got neighbors around me that can't pick up one of those heavy cans, even if it's empty, when it's on the side. So that's just some comments that we as citizens have to deal with.
Yes, and I remember when they first got the contract with the city, and that was one of the things that the representative has spoken in reference to the elderly who can't afford to bring a can to the road or pick up their trash. They would, provide that service. But then we have to know about those individuals in order to serve them.
But that can be avoided by putting the can back on the ground and not dropping it from the top of the truck.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Yes, it does happen.
Mr. Douglas Smith?
I pretty much take exception with everything she had to say from Republic. I definitely don't ascribe to the belief that their service was what the taxpayers were paying for prior to COVID. And then COVID came in and now it's bad. It's always been bad. Every time we come up for an increase, we complain, they promise, we give them more money. They never fulfill their end of the bargain. Always. I find it insulting for them to sit here and say, oh, you just don't know what day to put your garbage out, when it sits there for months. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday or Wednesday, if it's been there for 4 Saturdays and 4 Wednesdays. And that's the case all around town, all the time. To come in here, tell us that we just don't get it. Maybe they could re-educate us on proper, when to put it out, I think is insulting. To claim that they did it on the up and up before COVID and then to threaten us with a rate increase when we're here to discuss how bad they do the job that we pay them for, I take affront to. And like I said, when was the last time that we took a competitive bid for trash service in this town? It's always Republic. It's always give us more money. I know, we seem to have a cozy relationship with Republic. Everybody's all smiles when Republic shows up. And I'd also like to know what, as the largest financer of the Lee mayoral campaign, how does that affect this cozy relationship and the lack of accountability to the citizens of Port Allen for them to fulfill their contract? We pay our bills on time. Trash doesn't get picked up. Nobody gives us our money back. And then they're just gonna say that we can't understand trash pickup and then threaten to charge us more money. I think it's time we get some competitive bids and pursue someone who hasn't invested so much money in our elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do you remember the last company we had? Trash company?
I don't know, you don't have campaign finance disclosures from back then?
I see that's all you want to talk about, but that's not what this is about. Okay, and my office will handle any complaint that you may have, and we will address those complaints. And if you ask any of my staff, when you call in my office in reference to a missed trash pickup, I go out there and make sure it's taken care of. Okay, and it's not about campaign funds, it's not about anything else, it's about doing the right thing. And I can tell you there's a lot of times that Republic do have issues. They have issues just like the city of Port Allen. It's hard to keep employees. It's hard to keep the equipment up. But it's also some of the customers here in Port Allen that's putting trash next to a light pole, utility line overhead where they can't pick it up. Okay? Those are things that we have to remember. Sorry about that. I guess it's not going to act right. But anyway, it's a two-way street, and we all got to work together on this issue. And yesterday we had a productive meeting with the Republic staff, Councilman Lacy and Councilwoman Gordon, and I looked at what we presented them yesterday, and I can tell you a good 90% of the problems because I took videos, and I ride the street every day, and I showed them the piles that were missed, and I guarantee you today they picked it up. But, can we get that every day? Nothing's perfect, okay? So we're going to continue to address this issue. Hopefully, things get better, and I'm looking for, better service, just like you are. John Summers?
Well, I for one look at the campaign contribution as a conflict of interest. Morally and ethically, why are we going with the garbage company that's contributing to your campaign? That just basically says, well, I give merely $3,000. He's going to make sure to nudge things in my way for my contract. How many other contracts with other vendors are influenced in a similar way? I'm not trying to say that you're corrupt or anything, but it definitely colors the situation and makes it very murky. What's the Louisiana State Ethics Board's opinion on this? For a contractor for the city to contribute to the mayor's campaign. And on top of that, we're not getting any of the other services from the other vendors as well. I know for a fact that the person who cleans the depot, I've left trash out there for him, or his company. I don't know his name because I can't get a vendor expense report, so I don't know who the city is getting the business from, something I've requested. But, I think that of the citizens of Port Allen, I've gone through the entire city of Port Allen during my campaign. And they talk about this city on all sides. I could walk through Miss Clarice's neighborhood, Miss Gordon's, Mr. Hubble's, Mr. Brown's, Mr. Riviere's. They all seem to think that this office is either incompetent or not doing their jobs. And in fact, your assistant financial officer doesn't even have a computer. So what am I paying for? Can you quantify your reasoning for being mayor? You have been mayor for 9 years now. What progress have we made with all these issues? Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments?
I'd like to ask Carl, Steve, John, is there something that can be done to educate the public in the city on, well, number one is pickup days. Also, what you can put out, what you can't, and, just a ABC elementary thing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we kind of talked about. And yeah, we'll put a flyer together so that they can, and do it by email, so you can insert in the utility fee bill or Facebook or whatever you need to. And he made a good point. It's about proper placement, right? And it is, when the mayor was talking about that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of lines, wires, and especially when weather, it'll weigh them down. So that boom truck is not gonna pick it up right there. So it makes sense for us to educate, and maybe even, if we need to go out, and we have, and I know Mayor Lee will attest to this, and help the residents say, well, can you put it here so that we can try to get to it? Yeah.
And I know when we started this with y'all,
Mhm.
we talked about what do we call it, backdoor policy, where you had an elderly person, and as long as the office knows about it, you will go pick it up.
So,
Back door.
we call it handicap service, and as long as it comes from the mayor's office, with the recommendation that we do it for that person, we absolutely will do it. Now, we can't allow our people to go in the back of the house, so the can has to be visible in the front of the home, and as long as they can see it from the road, they will actually go get it, pick it up, and then dump it. And the way we do that in other places is, the mayor just says, okay, yes, I can validate that this person needs this assistance. Will you please do that for me? And then we let the route driver know that when you service that person, you need to make sure you do that.
And I think a lot of people don't know that. So.
They probably don't. I don't think we have that many on the list out here at all. So if it's needed, we do that. We want to do that. All right. Thank you.
All right, no other questions? We'll go to agenda item 20. Alcoholic beverage permits. Thank you, sir. Agenda item 21, announcements and correspondence. I want to announce that we're going to have the Juneteenth celebration at William and Lee Park. Ms. Roche, you want to comment on your sponsors and the time?
Yeah, we're very excited about Juneteenth, which we'll celebrate on this Sunday.
Could you speak a little louder, ma'am?
We're very excited about our Juneteenth celebration, which we'll have this Sunday. The park will open for participants, for attendees at around noon. Our program will get started around 3 o'clock, and we'll go until 8 o'clock on Sunday evening. We did get two great sponsors, Entergy and the lottery, that have come in to really help make it a great success. So we're very, very excited about it, and we hope to have continue the tradition, the one that Miss Lawrence started some 20 years ago, and actually celebrating the Juneteenth within the city of Port Allen. So as many people, we are inviting everybody to come on out and enjoy the day with us. We'll culminate the day with a live performance by Lil Nate, who's a Zydeco performer, and it should be a lot of fun, but it will be educational. We will have cultural exhibits as well as cultural performances, and we'll have the Emancipation Proclamation as well as other resolutions and proclamations that will be read and explained during that day. So we want it to be a day of education, of actually cultural and entertainment. So we look forward to getting as many people to come out and take part in our festivities on Sunday, June 13th at Williams and Lee Park on Louisiana Avenue.
And I'm looking forward to see all my council members out of class.
All right, you going your
I saw the fireworks, they coming up. Do you know if they'll be up by Sunday? Like some of these fireworks, these shots over here. Do you know?
We didn't plan any fireworks for Sunday?
I get my own fireworks.
Huh?
I want to get my own fireworks, but I just wanted to know.
Oh, okay, we'll talk about it. Oh, the fireworks shop. Oh,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. I can
Because
get
that's
you.
our plan, that's not in the city. Right?
That's the parish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can shoot fireworks there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll make hay.
It's not city.
Okay.
Call Chief. Okay, also, we want to recognize that, so far I haven't heard any announcements on the 4th of July, but I think it's going on plan as scheduled. I'll get with the parish on the activities for the 4th. Of course, we won't have another council meeting before then, but I'll let y'all know what I hear from the parish. It's a reminder that we have a District H meeting. It's going to be in Addis on June the 15th. That's next Tuesday at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So if you're going to attend, please attend. And the final note, when the council get a chance, I want you to, I want to recognize Miss Shanisha Deloach. She took her Class 2 Treatment and Collection Certification test, and she passed. So she's been with us a little over a year, and she's doing an excellent job. She just had to get her points, but she's coming along pretty well. Other than that, any other council members have anything?
These pens we get, they don't write.
That's one that was in the old box.
Oh, it must be old.
We will buy some more. We'll do better.
When we update the chambers, we'll make sure we get some digital pens,
I
you
will
know?
make sure I get
Still need iPads.
Agenda item